Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to an episode here at the Armory. Today we are going to do a lower receiver build. We're going to do everything from start to finish. And I hope this will be very informative for you guys, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy watching this. So the first thing that we're going to talk on, as you can see right here, I've already got the front takedown pin installed right here. I was having a little bit of trouble trying to get everything to fit in there properly. So pretty much all you have to do is put a little small spring and a detent inside of this hole right here. You guys might be able to see the little detent right in there pushing up against the takedown pin. All it is just these two pieces right here. But I was just trying to test it, and I got right there where I needed it. So I just did it real quick off camera. So I'm sorry about that, guys, but I don't want to take this apart because it will be a pain in the butt to try and do again. But all I used was a flathead screwdriver, pushed it down, wiggled off of it just a little bit, and then I was able to install the takedown pin. So there are tools out there to make it very useful, and they're like maybe $5-10 or something from what I've heard. So maybe I'll invest in one of those later on. But now let's get into the full build. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the mag catch and the mag release button. So what your mag release and mag catch will consist of is this little button right here, this large spring, and the mag catch itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to lube up our spring. Just give it a little bit. You just want to put a little bit of lubricant on there, just so everything will stay nice and smooth. So now we're going to go ahead. We install the mag catch right in here, and we have it pushed all the way up against the frame, and then we install the spring on the opposite side. Now, the mag catch right here has these little cutout grooves. That's the front. That's the one you want pointing outward. The back side is completely smooth and flush. So this is how you would want to install it, with the cutouts facing outward. So you just got to kind of work this in there a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time to get those threads lined up, but once you get it, there we go. I usually turn it a couple of times just so that I know that it's, caught on there. So now what we do is we push hard on this side to pop up the mag. Let me see if I can get that lined up in there right. There we go. So that we can have the mag catch sitting out. And now we're going to rotate this, and it'll make it a lot easier to tighten this. So here we go. And then get that on there, like one more rotation. It may take 3 rotations for yours. It may take 4. It just all depends on how it is. So the next thing you're going to want to do to test to make sure that this is correct is you're going to want to take an empty magazine, and then you're just going to want to slap it in to make sure that the mag catches, and just give it a little tug to make sure it's nice and secure. And now we're going to push this button to make sure that the mag releases cleanly. There it is. See it a little bit quicker. There we go. So the one thing you guys don't want to do is over tighten it, and what that could lead to is the mag seizing up inside of the mag well, and then it just becomes a problem trying to get it out, and then you have to pull on the mag while pushing on the button and yank it out. But for now, that's all good right there. So now we're going to move on to the bolt catch release. Okay, so now what the bolt catch release is going to be these 3 tiny little parts. So you got a spring, you got a little pin to lock it in right here. This is the actual catch button. So you're going to put it through there when you mount it to the frame. And then you got this little detent pin right here. And what that's going to do is you're going to go ahead and put this part in first. And there's a little hole right in there. Okay. So you want the larger fat side because this is 2 dimensions here. So you got the fatter side and you got that little nub right there. You want the fatter side to go in. There we go. Just flows right in. And then you're going to take a little bit of lube. Again, lube up all your springs just so everything is going to work well. Because this is metal on metal contact. Just like how you need oil in the engine of your car, you need oils on springs and everything to make sure that they work properly. So here's a nice little trick that I've learned. So how you're going to install this is these ridges right here for the button, they go outward. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put this in here, and you're going to try to line up those holes, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to take a little Allen key and you're going to take the short end of it, line it up in there. Let me see. Come on. There we go. So now you've got a nice little slave pin in there holding everything together. And then you're going to take your little pin right here. And this is where, if you don't want to mar up the finish on your firearm, you want to go ahead and just take a little bit of tape. I've got black electric tape right here. It's the only thing I have on hand at the moment. So there we go. So then what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and you're going to take this little pin right here. And another thing that will make it easier is if you take your mag in here and you have a little bench vise. And then you're going to go ahead and install this into the bench vise. Get this in there real quick. Okay. You don't want to clamp on it too hard because, after all, the mag is made of polymer, so it's very, easy to break inside of a vise. So then you're going to take a little hammer, or, we're going to try this little hammer right here, see if it's going to work. So now, I'm going to go ahead, and then we're just going to loosen that up just a little bit. There we go. It still is engaged in the whole setup. Okay, I'm going to try and push that in there. This is going to be fun. Alright, let's see what we can do. Okay. So now, going to just go ahead, get that started in there. Unfortunately, my fat fingers aren't really allowing me to get this thing in here too good. Okay, come on. Let me see. Alright, so it's actually going to be pretty difficult to get this guy in there, but I'm going to try and do my best. Alright. Just kind of give it a little smack in there. Went off on me. That's the issue with these guys, is that these pins are made to crimp because it has a nice little slit cut through the... There you go. Has a little slit cut through the part. So they're meant to be a certain size, and then when they get pushed through something, they squeeze in on the part. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try a little bit of a heavier hammer. See if maybe that first strike will help me out. Okay. course, you know, this would be so much easier if I had a hole punch, but fortunately I don't have one. I've only done a couple of AR builds in my life, so this is definitely not something that I do on a daily basis. Can it show? Okay. Alright, might be onto something, so let's see. Nope. Alright, I think right now the vise is not really helping me. I think it's fighting me more than helping me. It's not latched down to my table, so let's try and see if we can do this while it's just standing up right here. Alright. So I can hopefully have a heavy impact on this table, so that hopefully it'll carry more of the impact. Nope. Uh-oh. I lost the slave pin in there, and I know it didn't make it all the way through yet, so get that reinstalled back in there pretty quickly. Okay, so just so everyone can see, here is the pin right here. This is the Allen key that it's forcing its way through. So now, so we are making progress. Okay, so now the button just came off real quick. I pulled that out. So now we gotta try and see if we can get that lined up real quick. I feel like it's almost there. So there we go. There we go. So there we go. And then kind of finish her off here with the little hammer. Okay, so there we go. Looks alright. Probably not as best as it could be, but I did get it through right there. So now, here's how you check and see if it's going to work properly. So when you put the magazine in, if you guys can see this real quick, you should see that magazine catch come up. See how that moved right there? So there we go. There is, it's working properly because I can see it being lifted up. That's precisely what we want to have happen. So maybe later on I'll just go ahead and I'll push that in a little bit further when I get a few more tools coming my way. Okay, so now we've done the front takedown pin. We've done the magazine latch, and then we've done the slide release, the bolt catch release. My bad, the bolt catch release. Now comes the trigger, and this is where the fun part really kicks in. Okay, so I've already preset these items so that I wouldn't have to spend too much time on the explanation process, but trying to get the sun out of the view real quick. It's kind of blinding me a little bit. So here is the trigger. So you're going to have a little tiny spring right here in the back end, and this spring needs to be set exactly as you see it. So this little lip is going to go over this trigger itself, okay? So then go ahead and pull this electric tape off. There we go. So you'll see this one through hole right here. That's where the trigger needs to set. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop this in, and then we're going to get this lined up properly. So here we go. And then we're going to take a little Allen key real quick and use that as a slave pin. This particular Allen key right here that works is a 7/64, and the one that I had up here for the catch release button was a, let's see, it was a 5/64, okay? So now that we've got our trigger in here with the slave pin installed, we go ahead and we take the actual pin that is given to us in the set. So you're going to see that there are two cutouts right here. This cutout that is close to this top edge right here is the one that you want to use going in. And you want to go in from the right side into the left side. So here we go. Let's go ahead and try that. Just going to put a little bit of pressure right here just so that I can get it started. And then just kind of work it through, work it through, work it through. And then you're going to want to wiggle the trigger a little bit until it becomes flush. And there we go. There we have it. The pin came all the way through, and it goes right through the trigger and over here. So now it's good and flush. So now we have our trigger. All right. And then next, so then with that being said, oh, crud. I forgot a piece in there. My bad, guys. And those of you who are veterans of doing this, you already know what I did. But I'll gladly explain what happened. So, I forgot to install this piece right here. This is a pretty important piece to the whole setup. So, what I should have done is put a little bit of pressure right here. All right. There we go. All right, so I have the slave pin only going through the first side right here. So the cutout right here on the back side is where the spring sits, that little tiny spring that was sticking up in the trigger. So there we go. Now we put a little bit of pressure on that. And then we just get this lined up in there. It's going to take a little bit of time because you can't really see what is going on. But believe me, it's not all that bad. Get that. Alright, let me see something. Okay, I think I put a little too much pressure. Okay, come on. Alright, let's go ahead and see if I can't install the actual pin here real quick. And then, now that I've got the actual pin right here, I'm going to kind of line all of this stuff up. So, get that right in here. And then we're just going to push that. It's a very finicky system, but it's also super, super simple. Okay, come on. Because the biggest thing is I'm trying to line up the hole with that little, with this little hole in here. I'm trying to line up all the holes to where I can get them to work together. So, alright. Get that back in there. Okay. And it may help to go on the side. It may not. But, or to have it laying on its side so that you can, you know, just do what you need to do. I felt it catch right there, so. Okay, so, come on. Believe me, guys, I don't do this too often, so it's a little bit of a hassle. But I'm trying my very best to get this all in here. Okay, so come on now. All right, one more time. If there's one thing that definitely hurts is pushing on that pin so much, and then it just like transfers over into your finger. Okay, let's see. Can I get it lined up again? Come on. There we go. I finally got it. I had to push down on the spring and everything for it to get lined up. There we go. So now, there we go. Finally got the trigger installed right in there along with the plate. There we go. All right. So, there we have one of the bigger pain in the butts. And now it's time to install the hammer right here. So, same principle. So, you're going to want to have the hammer in the spring exactly like this set up. And then what you do is you go ahead and then you place this down in here. And just so you guys can see, you actually want to wrap the legs of this spring around the trigger guard spring right down in there. So you're going to want to bend it down in like so, okay? So I'll show you guys what it looks like as soon as I get it installed. All right. Because it's definitely not something that you can just, do with your eyes closed. Okay. And then just kind of shove this through. Boom. Okay. So, as you can see, the hammer springs are riding in there, and you really have to push this down into place, okay? So now I've got my slave pin working right there. So now we take the other pin exactly like the other one, and then we just push it through. Okay, so there's the start of it. All right, come on. Okay, and then it should just, as soon as I can find that sweet spot again, should just flow through pretty easily. And then I'm just giving it a little tap with the hammer because my finger is definitely getting sore. Almost there. Just gotta give it a little push back. Alrighty. A little bit of a push. There we go. Alright. Got that sucker to go through. So now, what we have right here is a fully assembled trigger and hammer set. So that's a good way to test it right there. Pull the hammer back and then pull the trigger, and everything flows naturally. But keep your thumb on the trigger as it rides forward, because you don't want all that force just smacking up against something. All right, so now it's time to do possibly one of the easier ones now, and that is going to be the grip and safety. since they both work in tandem together. So in order to do this, it's a pretty straightforward system. So here's your safety notch right here, and then this is where you're going to install it right here where there's safe and fire. You just literally need to go ahead, engage that, and then it'll switch to fire, safe, fire, safe. And then you're going to come over here to the back side. Now, there is a little hole right here, and then you're going to take this little detent and you're going to pop it right down in there. You may have to give it a little tap to get it in there, but you put the pointed end towards the safety, okay? And then here is our grip, and here's the spring for it, and then that goes into this little tiny hole right here, and there you go. And then, obviously, like I said before, give it a little bit of lube, just so that it's all going to work properly. So then what you'll do is you'll go ahead and then you'll start installing everything into the grip. Okay, so obviously it looks like it slipped out right there. There we go. Okay, now we go ahead and then we install this. There we go. And then you're going to take your threaded rod. Now, sometimes these will come with torque heads, and sometimes they're flat heads or Phillips, but this time it's an Allen key. And then you have a little lock washer right here. So obviously, go ahead and put that on there. If you want to lube these up, you can. I'm not going to be against it. Obviously, you can. I'm not going to be against it if you do or not. I'm going to go ahead and lube it. And the one that this is a 13/16 Allen key. So now, here's where the fun part comes in. Now we gotta go into a blind hole, get this lined up. There we go. And then we just start threading it in. Okay. Okay, it's getting there. Just, there we go. All right. And then, let's give it a good hand tightening. And then, well, that's not good. Okay, I guess I gotta go back now because obviously something didn't connect too well with it, so it's alright. Nothing that can't be fixed real quick. Okay. I don't know if it had slipped off of the mechanism or something, but we'll figure it out. Okay. Yeah. Just, it seemed like the mechanism had slipped off a little bit on the detent, but now, there. And you can hear the audible click that lets you know that it's functioning properly. And then there's another way that we can test this. So let me go ahead and just tighten that up one more time. So if you put it in safe, okay, you should not be able to pull this trigger. And I can't. So there we go. Flick it into fire. There we go. So now we've got our safety and our grip installed. Starting to look like an AR lower right now. Okay, so now we are going to install what is probably going to be the biggest part of all of this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a little break. Stay tuned for part 2. Thank you guys for watching.